Welcome back YouTube, Harry here, known as Trade Sharp, and in this video we're going to look at aggressive entries slash impulse entries versus entries with confirmation. How do you know which one to take and when to take these type of entries, when you should be taking aggressive entries and when should you be taking entries with confirmation. So that's what we're going to cover in this video, and to understand what type of trader are you to take aggressive or confirmation based entries. That being said, let's get straight into the video and tell you what I have marked up on my charts here. What we're basically going to do is go over this week of trading, and I'm going to show you the different entries and options we had to take the trade. So with that being said, let's get straight into it. So before we start the video, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I'd really appreciate it if you leave a subscribe. I found out that 80% of you guys are not subscribed, so that's pretty shocking. So a subscribe will really help, and also liking this video and commenting below helps the algorithm to get this out to more people so they can benefit from my content. And I really do appreciate it. Personally, I would like, I always set goals, so 100 likes for this video would be great. I hate chilling all of this YouTube stuff, but it has to be done to get my content, because I put work into these, and I'd really appreciate it if you'd help me get it out there. And down below there is some free groups, no paid groups, no courses. There is just a group where you guys can join, and I answer all of your questions. I will answer. I'm not going to ignore you. You message the group and send in your charts if you fail a trade, and I can help you to understand why. And also, trading can be lonely, so it's a good community and a safe place in the forex industry. So that all of that out the way, let's get into this video. So guys, when it comes to entries, we have two types of entries. We have an aggressive entry or an impulse entry. That means you're not really taking the entry based on confirmation. Now you have an analysis, you have a zone where you want to sell or buy, but you're not waiting for a candle closure, or you're not waiting for a certain reaction. You're just looking for that zone to break, and you take the entry based on that, right? And or you look for it to come and tap that zone, and you take the entry based on that. So here on the charts, we have the week of trading here, and I'm going to go over some possible entry opportunities that we had, and how we have confirmation and how we don't have confirmation in some of these entries here. And these yellow lines here represent London session. I personally trade London session here, so I want to show you the trend and also the repetition you have in the markets when it comes to London session, and how easy markets can be when you just notice the patterns, right? So let's get into here. I'm gonna start from the first, because we did start on the 31st, but it was a weird week where we had the new month starting. So the new month starting here, this looks like to be the top wick and creating the bottom wick of the monthly candle as well, right? And what we can see here is obviously GJ has been on an upside run, right? So it's very clear to say you have higher highs and higher lows. This is an uptrend here. So ideally, coming into your session, you want to try be buying price. I don't understand why people would want to sell price. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, I'd understand if some people like to counter trend. This is the only zone up here that I would be personally saying, okay, yeah, this is a good area to target, right, for possible selling. But I won't sell, because I'm gonna follow the trend till it breaks. But I won't be shorting in the beginning of the week, because there was no reason to short. So what we saw here is, this is London open, this yellow line. We saw pre-London price pushed up here, right? So we could see how it closed above this zone. Many people would think, okay, price is going to push up to this zone here. This is a 14 pip range, very tradable here. But what you have to understand is, this is first of all before the London open. So taking an entry after such a big move, it's going to be quite difficult in this situation, right? So this is we would call an aggressive entry, because you're trying to catch price in a volume. You're expecting volume. There's no confirmation. You have closed above the zone, but again, if you were to be in this move, you should have been here. But what we've created is, we created structure down here, right? So here's your structure at the bottom of the range. Now if this is respected throughout London and a bit after London, then we can expect price to continue up. So we see it create a resistance. Now we see price drive down here. I actually took an entry here on the lower time frames. I'll show you where. And I got a hit at break even, because I saw this creating support here, and I thought, all right, great, this is the London open here. We created a pullback, and I took a position here like this with my stops below here, and I tried to target the London open here, and then it came up here, put me in about 8-9 pips profit. At that point, I went to break even as soon as, and it tapped me out at break even. But that was it. And then I left the charts, and then it came and gave a deeper move before the confirmation. So as you can see, this was a low time confirmation. This was a 15-minute confirmation. So 15-minute confirmations are not always the best, right? Because you can see how that didn't work. But now when we pull back to the bottom of the zone here, right? And we got a 30-minute close above the candle here. This is an entry where you have confirmation. So what are your confirmation? You're not breaking structure. You're forming a higher low, and look how the 30-minute close. The 30-minute close bullish, engulfing the previous candle. Now, where's your target going to be? Well, it's going to be your next resistance, right? So first target can be, of course, here, which makes sense to target here. And then your second target can be here. So, from where London opened, right? So that's a type of entry that you have a lot of confirmation, right? Now, some people would take an aggressive entry, and just based on this zone and the reactions you've had in the past, they would say, I'm just going to buy from here because this is a really strong zone that's held, and I think price is bullish and price should not break this zone. So I'm going to take a buy. And if I see any candle closing below here, I'm going to cut the trade. But the issue with these type of traders is that at any time, this could have just dumped down, because look, what we created after London, this yellow line is London open, is we created downside structure. Yes, overall in the market, we're bullish, but London opened in bearish. We created a low and then a lower high, but failed to make a lower low. And that's what's very important. But price could have easily made a lower low and came and tested somewhere around here. But the confirmation of having that bullish candle is the best way, because this is where you would say, okay, there's no ifs and buts. It's no, oh, if price closes below here, then I will be out of my trade. No, there's no if, buts. It's very, very clear. Price closed bullish. I know I'm wrong if this zone is broken. End of story. And you have a place to enter. Now let me go and show you on the next day we had something similar. And this is noticing repetition and patterns here. So London Open happened. We pulled back here on the 30-minute, same as the day before. We created support here, respecting the previous day low. Very important, respecting the previous day low. Don't worry about this Asian session structure here. This is technically your Asian low around here. So technically, we didn't respect it here, but we're respecting the previous day low, which is very important here. So, and at this time here, the 4-hour was just closing doji candles, so it wasn't really giving you any information. But why have I put in more of an aggressive entry? Well, your confirmation of a strong time frame closure. So if you're trading on the 30-minute, you would be looking at a 30-minute candle. But why is this an aggressive entry? First of all, look at where price closed below this zone here. So if we draw a line here, okay, it's weak closure, but it is technically a closure with the candle breaking the low. You could easily have a retest down to this wick, or you could have continuation to the bottom of the range. But what you notice on lower time frames here is that it created a resistance here, and price closed above the resistance, right? And that is your lower time frame confirmation. But again, you're trading against two bearish 1-hour candles here, right? So you're trading against two bearish 1-hour candles here, and that is a bit of an aggressive entry. But you do have a lower time confirmation, and that's where you can use that to your benefit, right? Again, this could have easily popped up here and then came back down, but we're bullish in the structure, right? It's not as good confirmation as this trade here, but this does still give you, this is a slightly more aggressive take. But again, this type of entry is still giving you confirmation on lower time frames. You know when you're wrong. Now, looking at the next trade here, this is one of the classic trades. We get a closure above our previous resistance here. Very clean and simple here. We get a closure above our resistance. Next candle, boom, goes up, gives you take profit. This was news helped you give this, but it would have given you a nice 1-to-1 here, and then news helped you a bit. So this is an entry with confirmation. You have confirmation of price closing above the range. Now, aggressive traders, if we go on the lower time frames, if you're an aggressive trader, after this support here, just breaking this zone here, just breaking this high, you could have taken an entry. But the biggest problem is same thing here. How you have a wick, you could have been caught in this wick, and this is why I don't really address taking these type of confirmations, right? You need to take a candle closure confirmation to have no worries that if this happens or will it reverse. No, but there is a time and place where you can use aggressive entries. I do have a video on my YouTube about advanced entries, so entering on lower time frames, some stuff like this where you can actually enter on the 5 minute, but I don't want to make this video confusing. But basically what I want to show you is the type of entries you had and options you had this week in the charts, right? So if we now go on to, I made a video about supply and demand, and this is a zone here that you can call this basically a supply zone, right? So you can say that, okay, price came down and then came back and retested this zone up here, right? Now your confirmation is closing bearish at the top of the range here, right? But again, we're not bearish in structure. This could have easily continued, but many people who trade supply and demand, which I do have a video on, I'll probably link it on the card so you guys can watch that. Many people who trade supply and demand will just take price testing this area. As soon as price reaches that line, that's it, they're in the trade, they're triggered into the trade. Now these entries can work very, very well, but the only problem with these entries is you don't follow price. Now I need to make this very clear, all right? And this is why I don't trade like this, but I respect people who do, and I don't have an issue with people who trade like this, because as long as you're profitable, that's all that matters, right? So the reason I don't trade like this is because you have to wait for price. So if you saw that this is a supply zone, you don't trade the breakout from the zone. You don't take a short position like a price action trader would wrong way. A price action trader would be taking a short position here because there's a clear break of structure. Structure broke, target lows, first target somewhere here, next target probably all the way down here, which, yeah, it did tap. And you can see how this works. You have a clean move here, news candle move, right? Clean move down. This is your relevant structure. This is the last structure before news. Boom. Where does price come to? It comes to that structure. Boom. This can also be seen as what? Another supply. This can be seen as a demand zone, right? So as you can see here, people could have taken a long position from this zone here. But again, the issue is with this is that you're not following price. You are waiting for price to come to your zones to take a trade. And this is what I don't like, because if price doesn't come to your zone in that session, you don't take a trade. And also when it comes to your zone, you can see how much messing about it has. Now let's look at the trades that were taken this week. Boom, entry, boom, straight to take profit. In the next 1, 2, 3, 4 candles, gone to your take profit. This entry, boom, immediately in profit. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles gives you to the top of the range. So now in this, okay, you get entered, comes down, comes back up, and now goes down slowly. And this is the problem. I have consistency. London session, entry. London session, entry. London session, entry. Supply and demand zones. London session, okay, we have a supply zone, waiting. Okay, breakout. Okay, wait for mitigation. Okay, price mitigated my zone. Now it's leaving. You have to wait for these setups, not follow the trend. So that's the problem I have. And these are very aggressive entries, right? Once you have data and prove that these entries work, then you can use them 100%. But that's not the way I want to trade. I want to be able to come to the charts the same time every day, take an entry, and not hold a lot of drawdown and not hold the trades. I don't mind holding trades, but I want to be able to, reach a target and be done, right? I don't want to be entering on a wick like this, which definitely can work. But again, it's very aggressive, and sometimes you can have tension, because if I show you back in the charts where we have a similar supply zone and probably where it didn't work, right, this is the weekly open gap here. Let's have a look at a supply zone. So let's try find an example, like something like this, right? This would be a good example. So many people would be looking for shorts probably here. So if I draw a box here, many people looking for shorts here. That's where they'll be looking to short price once it comes to this whole zone here, which can be seen as a, supply zone or order block. It could be as well, right? Based on the reaction we had and the accumulation of orders here. But what we can see happened here is that when price came, okay, we had a reaction, price slowed down, but again, trend was bullish, boom, pushed through that zone. Now you guys will be holding drawdown and boom, stopped out 100%. There's no confirmation. If I had a bearish candle closing and then the next candle breaking the low, not making a higher low, I have confirmation that price has the opportunity to drive down. And that's why I prefer to trade like that, right? And that's the difference between entries and impulse entries and entries with confirmation, right? Now, to wrap up this video, there is one other time where you can use impulse entries. If you understand price and you understand how volume has come in, you can use the volume to your advantage and know that, okay, when this zone breaks, I'm going to use the volume of my session to give me a push. Similar to, the people trading probably here, they would be looking at, okay, fine, this is London Open here. Can London Open give me the volume to push out of this zone, right? Boom. It gave 7 pip volume. It's not much. That's why it's better to wait for some structure, But some people will be looking at that, especially in a zone like this. You could have used volume here. Boom, take the entry, right? And this is basically it about taking entries with confirmations and more aggressive entries, and why I prefer confirmations and why I think it's more beneficial long term. Short term, yes, you can get big moves trading like this because you're basically buying and selling the wicks, but long term it's not consistent because again, you are waiting for price to move towards your zone, not looking at what zone price is in and making a decision based on that. Yes, you want to see your setups in that zone, but you're not making a decision. So I'm gonna end it here. That's basically it. Remember guys, take care, trade sharp, and until next time, peace.